been better if I'd never been born at all.
What'd you say?
I said I wish I'd never been born.
You've got your wish. You've never been born.
In the classic 1946 movie by Frank Capra, It's a Wonderful Life, the character played by Jimmy Stewart gets to see what life would be like had he never been born. 25 years ago, D. James Kennedy and I wrote a book that ended up becoming a bestseller playing off of that same theme. The book is What If Jesus Had Never Been Born?
What would happen if Jesus wasn't ever born? We know that man was lost in his sin. Biblical truths brought us to a wholeness and health. We were already savages, and now we're moving back to that place. Biblical Christianity, Christ himself is what reconciled us to humanity, to the ability to care for one another, to the ability to appeal to ourselves, to care for somebody else.
Jesus says, I was sick and you visited me. That gave birth to the Christians caring for the sick. The majority of hospitals in America were started by churches. Catholic churches, Presbyterian, Baptist, Lutheran, Seventh-day Adventist, and they did it as a ministry unto the Lord, and so the hospital costs were very low. And over time, they began to transition to corporations, and then you had all the government getting involved and so forth, pushing their agenda.
Education for the masses was a Christian development, especially after the Reformation. Education for children and education for adults.
So the first university in America, I think around 1636, was Harvard. It was founded as a school to teach ministers instead of sending your son over to England. And so it was a preacher's college. And the second was William and Mary. Again, Christian emphasis. The third was a St. John's, and then around 1701 you get Yale. Yale started because some of them thought that Harvard was getting a little liberal, where they called them old lights versus new lights. And so 10 congregational ministers founded Yale. And they said, we're going to be real serious about our Christian faith.
Even modern science was birthed out of the Christian movement in the late Middle Ages. It was born with the notion that a rational God had made a rational universe, and it was up to the scientists to explore the laws of nature that the Creator had impressed upon His own creation.
Scientists were birthed out of Christianity. We all are familiar with Isaac Newton. And Sir Isaac Newton spent more time writing about the Bible and the prophecies of Daniel than he did on science. And then you have Robert Boyle, and he is the one that came up with the laws of pneumatics and pressure. He supported missionaries, and there's the lectures there in the universities in England called the Boyle Lectures. And he specifically says he puts some of his money to fund this chair that every year there are to be a series of lectures defending Protestant Christianity. And the Boyle Lectures went on and on until just a couple years ago. The political correctness says, oh, we're not going to do this anymore. But the history of science traces back to this Christian motivation to learn about God's creation.
In fact, What If Jesus documents that every major branch of science was founded by a Christian. A textbook case of the impact of active Christianity versus the absence of Christianity can be seen in the stark differences between North and South Korea.
Christianity has been almost completely stamped out in North Korea, and South Korea has become the most Christian country in the world. Now, up until 1945, the Koreans, who were then separated into North Korea under communist domination and South Korea under Allied sponsorship, had the same history, same culture, same language, same religion. They were a country. It was Korea. Well, since 1945, the contrast could not be more stark. Perhaps most illustrated by a satellite photograph of the Korean Peninsula at night, The southern half of the peninsula is lit up like a Christmas tree. The northern half of the peninsula is almost completely dark. We have 2 generations of North Koreans who have been physically and mentally stunted by chronic malnutrition. North Korea is probably the place in the world you would least like to wake up in the morning. It is a concentration camp. But now, South Korea, under freedom and under capitalism, has become the most Christian country in the world. In terms of per capita people who claim to be born-again believers as a percentage of the population, South Korea is more Christian than the United States. Some of the greatest churches in all of the world are in South Korea. They are sending missionaries out, including missionaries to the United States, and not just to the Korean Americans. They're sending missionaries to us. And I say, we'll take all the missionaries you can send us. We need them. North and South Korea could not be a greater contrast.
And it all begins with the transformation Jesus brings into the human heart of those who let him enter in.
Once Jesus comes into our lives, once the Holy Spirit moves in and makes us part of a body, then what happens, it affects our relationship with others. So the church takes care of the sick, not the government. It says, as you go into Acts, it says, everyone kept feeling a sense of awe. And it says, and all those who had believed were together and had all things in common. That's not communism, but it is caring. And they began selling their property and possessions and were sharing with them all as anyone might have need.
Strange, isn't it? Each man's life touches so many other lives. And when he isn't around, he leaves an awful hole, doesn't he?
Let's just take a look at Western history. What's been the greatest force of good? Look at hospitals, look at orphanages. These are driven by Christians. So looking at young people, we have to help them just have healthy relationships with Christians who break the stereotypes they see in the media and they hear about. And second, it's just educating them, helping them to realize, no, wait a minute, there has been some bad things in the name of Christianity. Let's own that. Jesus said there would be bad wheat among the tares, etc. But Christianity has been the overwhelming, most greatest positive contribution in the history of the world, and we should be proud of that.